morning I pretty much have the same thing. Um, I have 4 to 5 eggs, um, an English muffin, and a banana. Um, and then for lunch, it's pretty typical, just like a ham sandwich and um, carrots. And then for dinner, it's just typically a lean meat and some sort of whole grain. And I know it's like a vague way of explaining it, but I think for swimming, it's easy to um, just think to yourself, "Well, I'm swimming, I'm burning this many calories, I can go and eat whatever I want." Um, and I had that feeling for a long time, but um, and it's definitely hard to change it. But once you do change, if you're interested in it and really start looking at what you're eating and putting into your body, I can promise you results in the pool will come. I'd say that's definitely in the top three most important things for my swimming is what I'm eating. Um, and I can feel a difference when I'm eating well versus when I'm not in the water. And I just think, like, if I could stress something to swimmers who are just looking for that next step to get better, I would definitely say eating is what helped me jump from um, being like a good in-state swimmer to being able to compete nationally. And I think it's like definitely a hard change, but I would definitely say it's worth it.
What do you eat in between meals, Carson?
Um, I mean, right now, um, I'm not really eating it. Like, because I'm not working out as much, so I'm trying to not eat as much. But like during typical day, like I would always bring a snack to school when I was in school, and eat around 9 o'clock when some sort of protein, whether it's um, like just like leftover chicken or a power bar, which would probably be the easiest, which is what I normally did. And then before practice, I would always have like a shake with protein powder and almond milk, just because it upset my stomach if I had anything like solid. Um, and then after practice, I'm sure you guys know, like chocolate milk, protein, whatever you can to get in your body after a workout, because um, I'm not sure if you guys have talked to Dawn Weatherwax. You guys probably have the nutritionist, but she always preaches how, like, if you don't get anything in your body after a workout, um, pretty much all the muscle you just built isn't going to recover, and it's pretty much just going to be lost. So you get so much more out of your workout by simply just like drinking chocolate milk, and like everyone loves chocolate milk, so it's kind of a win-win. Um, but yeah, so I think I typically have like 2 snacks during the day, probably like one at like 9 o'clock in the morning and then one at like 2, and just like high protein. Um, but it's not like a pack of goldfish or like Cheez-Its. It's more like trying to fill up on snacks that have a lot of protein because they fill you up.
All right. Next question. How do you keep your mind clear during swim meets?
Out. Yeah.
Did I cut out?
Yeah, could you repeat the question?
Yep. How do you keep your mind clear during swim meets?
That one's definitely for me. I have 2 go-tos. I either listen to music, which sometimes can make it worse. And then the other thing for me is talking to friends. Like, talking to someone always helps me not think about the race. If that's what my goal is, if I just want to stop thinking about the race and just kind of zone out and um, be present, I just talk to friends. That's the biggest thing for me as always. But also knowing like the right situation to do it. Like, I'm the type of person that if you walk up to me right before my race, like, I'm probably not going to be too friendly just because I don't really want to talk before my race. Because during that time, like, I just want to focus. Um, so I mean, if you're gonna do that, you probably gotta know your friends pretty well and know who's gonna want to talk at a meet and who's gonna want to focus. But yeah, definitely either music um, or talking to friends are the 2 best ways I have to kind of just like stay present and not get too anxious about the race. And also
Okay.
know it's just like it's just swimming. Like, I feel like looking back and I've kind of thought about this on quarantine a lot. Um, like we get so nervous for swimming, and it's good because we care. You put so much time and effort into it, and that's why we get nervous. But like really looking at it, like it's just swimming. Like if you really think about what swimming is, it's just we're seeing how fast we can move through water. Um, and we get so worked up and anxious about it, and it's kind of funny, but because like we care so much about it. But I think I kind of think about that a lot. Like we all have so much other stuff going on in our lives, um, that it's like it's crazy that we get worked up, and I'm totally guilty of it as well. Like just getting so anxious and um, worried about the results, that I'm not staying present. So I think that's definitely the most important thing is just kind of remembering what you're doing and talking to friends and listening to music.
Hey, Carson, real quick. You said having the headphones on sometimes is not a good thing. Is that what you meant?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, um, and I think so. Like at USA swimming meets too, or like the junior team meets that I've been to, they'll tell you like if you need to listen to music, then listen to music. Um, but the most important thing they say at a meet is to turn your phone on airplane mode, put it in your bag, and don't be on it. Like being present in the meet is so important, and a large part of that is kind of feeding off your teammates. And I know that's like kind of like a cliche thing to say, and everyone says like you got to feed off your teammates, you'll swim better, but you truly do if you do like put your phone down, watch the meet, and look like watch the excitement of people dropping time or people behind the block and just learning like new things, like seeing how someone um, focuses in before their race and just like noticing the small things about a meet, have really helped me, especially at those meets like back in at Junior Worlds this past summer. Um, I would always take the first bus over to the pool, and I would get there early. Even if I was swimming that last event, I would just sit there in our little warm up area and watch what everyone else does to warm up, and just kind of learn. And I think that really helped me, even if I wasn't like taking what they were doing and doing it myself. It just helped me like stay present and like really like think about what I'm doing and like why I'm here, and just like kind of enjoy the moment more. And I think when we listen to music, and I always listen to music, so like I'm not gonna say listening to music is bad. Um, it just helps me focus. But I think when we listen to music and we're on our phone or on Instagram during the session, it's definitely a disconnect from what's going on. Um, which I know it doesn't seem like, oh, how could that affect my swimming? And I'm not sure how it does, but it definitely does. Um, but I know that being connected into the meet and watching the meet, it definitely helps your swimming.
All right. So, how do you deal with the anxiety of swimming a challenging event such as the 400 IM?
Ken's gonna. I don't know if Ken's listening right now, but I'm not. I I need to get better at this. So I think me saying this is just stuff I'm working on. I hate the 4 a.m. like swimming at long course. Like I swim it so much that like it's like it wins over me. Like I am scared of swimming the 4 a.m. Um, and I think I get in a bad mood every like the night before I have to swim it. If I'm swimming at a meet the night before, pretty much without fail, I will be in a terrible mood. Just because I know my next event's the 4 a.m. Um, but like I think the biggest thing for me is when I am thinking about that and when I have to kind of get over that fear, um, what we do in practice is so much harder than anything we'll do in a meet, and that's so true. Um, if you think about it, and I know it's like right behind the block, you're like, oh, this is the hardest thing in the world. Like I do not want to do this. This is gonna hurt so bad. Like what happens if I die? What happens if I choke on water? Um, and
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
I've seen the sets you guys do with Todd, and I can promise you that no 4 a.m. is gonna hurt as bad as some of the sets you guys have done. Um, and I think that's just so important to remember. I think um, that's what I always think right before the block, like right before I go on the block and the 4 a.m. is I would way rather do this 400 IM than a full practice right now. And I think that's the way I mentally get ready for the 400 IM, or any other hard event, whether it's 2 fly, 100 free, like all these events are super painful. Um, but you just got to remember the training you do in practice is so those events aren't as bad. And it's just the mounted up pressure that goes along with the race is what's making it feel so hard. Um, but I think that's also just, I mean, realizing like it's just swimming and like you've done harder stuff than what you're about to do.
All right. So, what do you think your biggest setback was, and how did you overcome it?
I think so. I have two like very different situations, both kind of setbacks. I think one, obviously, like the first thing that comes to mind is when I hurt my ankle. 2 years ago, I was doing a normal set. I was swimming, and I had fins on, and all of a sudden I was doing underwater kicks, like super fast 25s underwater, and my ankle popped. And at first I was like, oh, it's like my ankle cracked. Like that was weird. And then like I took off my fins and it felt really tight. Like I couldn't really move my ankle that well. And then I was like, this is like my ankle's like cramping up. Like that's like it's weird. And then I got out of the water and it was like a big like golf ball was in my ankle and I couldn't rotate it. Like after like 15 minutes I got out and I couldn't rotate my ankle. Um, and I'd never been injured before and I didn't know what it was. And like I ended up having severe tendonitis plus a stress fracture um, in my ankle, and I was in a boot for 3 months, and I wasn't able to kick, do flip turn, or push off with that leg. Um, so pretty much I was pulling for like 3 weeks, and this was right at the start of the high school championship season. So obviously that was like a huge blow, that like the end of my season was pretty much going to be compromised by me not being able to kick and my legs were going to get out of shape. And Ken just kept trying to tell me like, as long as you keep to the process and keep going and um, like mentally stay right, it'll work out. And it did. Like I was smart about it. I didn't kick during practice. Like I didn't push through. I did what the doctors told me to do. Was wearing my boot everywhere, and not kicking during practice. And I think I'd put so much effort into the season prior to that. And I think this is so big with any type of injury, whether it's shoulder, back. And I know it's weird how it works out, but I feel like whenever we get into taper season or right before a meet, you get these weird like pains. Like your shoulder starts to hurt or your knee starts to hurt on taper. And I know that causes so much anxiety. And I'm like the king of having those issues. Like I always end up somehow like tweaking something on taper. Um, and it's just so important to remember that like when you do that, you got to remember that when you swim, when you step onto the block on that at that taper meet with like a little like tweaked shoulder or tweaked back or whatever it may be, like once you dive in, your adrenaline's gonna kick in and you're not gonna feel it at all. So unless like your arm's falling off somehow on taper, I think that was the biggest thing for me is just trusting that once I dove in on that taper meet, um, my mind was gonna go kind of go blank and I wasn't gonna worry about what I was feeling in my ankle. I was just gonna race. Um, and it all works out. And so that's probably how I overcame that. And then the other one um, was at 2016, or no, not 2016, 2019 Junior Worlds this past summer in Hungary. I had been swimming like super well at the meet. I came in as a top seed in the 400 IM, and I had just broken the junior world record at nationals. And so, like to me, I was like, this is gonna be all I had to do is I'm gonna swim my race. I'm gonna like I'll win. It's gonna be I'll win it for USA, and it's gonna be a good night. And I showed up to the pool that night. Had so much pressure, put so much pressure on myself. when was like, I have to win. Like I can't lose this race. Like I have the record in it. Um, and I dove in and I literally, I'm not sure if any of you guys have watched that video on YouTube, but I just choked. Like I dove in, took out the first 200 super hard, and then just got bodied on breaststroke, just got absolutely destroyed by the two guys next to me. And turning into the freestyle, I knew I wasn't going to win. Um, I mentally had checked out of the race. And like looking back at it, like I didn't give a full effort that last 100. And I ended up getting passed from third all the way back to sixth. So I was in a medal position. But mentally, like I was like, I'm not going to win. I'm not like, I don't feel like pushing this harder than like I have to because it already hurts. Um, and so that was probably like one of my lowest points in swimming was that like I had left the pool at night knowing I hadn't given 100% and I kind of lost on a medal for Team USA. And just like I lost the junior world record. I lost like being able to call myself like the fastest 400 IMer in the world. And worst of all, I felt like I just gave up kind of for like the medal count and the team. And I think it was super important for me to come back the next day. I had an event the last day of the meet, and I felt like that was a time to redeem myself. But I think that's probably one of my biggest setbacks was uh, knowing that I didn't give a full effort. And I know it's easy to do that. Like if you're having a terrible race and you know you're not doing well, which hopefully never really happens to any of you, but just finishing strong. I know it's like the worst feeling in the world to get passed or be in last in the race, but you'll be so much happier you just pushed through and finished. And that's probably, if I could change one thing about all of last summer, it would be to finish that race. Even if I would have gotten past that, I wish I would have given my entire full effort to that. Because looking back, like that's just like the worst feeling in the world that I just gave up. Um, and so just coming back the next day and every single lap and warm up, every single lap during the race, I was sprinting, trying to like make up for it. And I don't really even know where I'm going with that, but I see that as a setback for myself and somewhere I've learned, and kind of like not taking any race for granted, I guess is where I'm going with that. I haven't taken any race for granted since then.
Hey,
All
real
right.
quick,
So, oh, good.
can you share what you did that next day and how you bounced back?
Yeah. So I had the 200 backstroke the next day. And it was I think I had 12 swims total that week. So it was like a 6-day meet. So we obviously had more time spread out, but I think I swam either 12 or 13 races. So like I was just mentally and physically exhausted by the last day. Like I swam every day of the meet. So like I had to mentally tune in every day, which was exhausting. And going into that last day, I went down to breakfast and I was just like still obviously bummed out about the night before. Um, and but I mean, I had Ken there, I had Adam there, I had some of my best friends throughout the country, like that I've met through swimming there, and all supporting me and telling me it's gonna be a bounce back day. Like, how would it feel to bounce back from yesterday and go out and win it today? Um, and I think I was like the third seed. I don't remember what seed I was, but I remember the top seed slipped in the morning and didn't make finals. He slipped off the start. So I think after that, I was like, oh shoot, like maybe I could bounce back and win. Um, and going into the finals, I was just like, that night before, like I had never wanted to win a race more than that last day in the 200 back. Like I was ready to go. I was telling Ken I was about to go best time by 2 seconds. I felt great. I didn't. I added a second. But I went 1-2. I got second behind my fellow American teammate, which was so awesome. We got to go. It was my first time ever going 1-2 on a podium with another American. So that was a super cool feeling. And just like uh, knowing I bounced back the next day and knowing I had it in me to race, and I wasn't just physically going to give up. Um, and like just because you have a down swim one day, I think is the biggest lesson I learned from that was I had a down swim the night before, added like 6 seconds. And it would have been super easy for me to be like, screw this, like I don't want to do this two back, I'm too tired, and just kind of dogged it. Um, and if like and just kind of like been done with the meet, like been done with my season. I get to go eat bad, celebrate that I'm done with the season. But instead, like really push through and finish the season how I wanted to finish the season. Um, I think was a super cool moment for me, and something that taught me a big lesson about myself.
All right. Do you have tips for getting out of your head?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think music, like I said before, is kind of like if I'm really struggling before a race, like I typically just listen to music, or talk to friends. Um, I'm really easy to make laugh. I mean, I laugh really easily, um, and I have a lot of funny friends, so I love talking to them before my race. Um, like I keep going back to the junior worlds meet this past summer, but honestly, that's probably where I learned a lot of like my biggest lessons in swimming. Just because it was such a roller coaster of a meet for me. Um, but I remember I, for some reason, got put as the anchor person on the 400 free relay, and I never really swum the 100 free. And the dude next to me anchoring from Russia was a silver medalist at like real worlds, like big boy worlds. And so I was like, this, like, we got to have like a 2 body length lead for me to be able to hold on to this. And so I remember in the ready room, like I was freaking out. Like we were all kind of scared because we were like four little American kids next to these giant foreign like beasts. Like I don't know how they're so big, but like those foreign guys who are 18 are just giant. And I remember we all just took off our earbuds or our AirPods, and just started talking to each other and just like making each other laugh. And I don't know, you guys know Adam Cheney, probably. I think most of you do. Like kid's like the funniest kid in the world. Um, and just like talking to him before the race, like talking about how we were both so nervous, and I think it just both made us laugh. And so everyone was in there all focused, and then the uh, four Americans were just like laughing the entire time, like in the ready room. And I think that not only made us feel better, but I think it also intimidated everyone else, because I think they were like, why are these kids not nervous? Even though on the inside we were all super nervous, we weren't showing it. And I think that's probably like the biggest, to get out of your head. Like if you don't want to think about the race, I would say find someone that's so like funny, or watch a funny video on your phone, or um, just like talk to someone. I think just thinking about it or putting in your music to just get more nervous isn't going to help. Um, but I don't know. That's my favorite thing to do when I get nervous is laugh. So I think just find someone to make you laugh.
All right, Carson. So, has there ever been a time where you weren't reaching your goals, kind of hit a plateau, and you started to kind of back off in practice? And if so, how did you overcome that?
Yeah. So I've had multiple. Um, I mean, everyone in the sport goes through that. Like no one in any sport is gonna go like this throughout their whole swimming or their whole sporting career. It's just unrealistic. Like, um, it just doesn't work like that. And so I would say my first time that ever happened to me, I was 12. Um, I was a really good swimmer when I was 10. Um, got um, like some records, and uh, I was definitely a cocky little kid. Like I was not a very humble 10-year-old. Like I knew I was a pretty good swimmer. And then I started getting beat when I was 12. Like in my like butterfly, I used to be a butterflyer, and like when I first got started getting beat by other kids, like I remember it was super hard. Like I would cry after my races and just be like a little brat about it. And I actually wanted to quit swimming when I was 13. before I came to Rays to just do baseball. Just because I was so used to winning. And I think I got so comfortable with that I stopped really like pushing myself in practice. I started getting beat and I just wanted to quit. Like I wanted to be done. Um, Luckily, my parents didn't let that happen. I stuck with swimming and um, ended up working out. And then again, I would say when I was 14, 15, I think I remember having a conversation with Ken after the season, and he was basically like, "You didn't put in the work the second half of the season. Like it should have been obvious to us that you weren't going to swim well at the end of the season meet." Um, which was like, I mean, he was 100% accurate, but like in the time, I was like, "Geez, that's like a slap in the face." Like I thought I worked hard, but looking back, there were definitely times where I wasn't giving it my all, and it showed at the end of the season. And um, I think the biggest thing, and I know plateaus are different than that. I know you plateau even when you're working hard. Um, I'm just saying from my personal experience, I wasn't working as hard, and the results showed. But I think plateaus, and I think someone who's like I admire so much for what she's done um, throughout her swimming career is my sister, because she kind of hit like she had the best season of her life sophomore year of high school, and then kind of spent the rest of her high school year or career just kind of chasing that um, and trying to stay at that level. Um, and I don't think she ever really got back to that level throughout her high school career, but there was never a practice where she didn't show up and like give it her all. Um, and it just earned everyone's respect. Like, even though she wasn't dropping time, or even though she wasn't um, like winning these races or getting these cuts, like everyone respected her so much because of how hard she worked. Um, and you just like, I don't know. And I guess what I'm saying is like, if you hit that plateau, don't let that be the end. Like always keep pushing, because um, like you will get out of it eventually. And I know Hannah's still working on getting out of it. She's still like working to find the right fit of training. Um, and just keep pushing for it and find other ways to love the sport than just dropping time. Like don't let dropping time be the only reason why you love swimming. Because that's how the plateaus will destroy your swimming. Because it's no fun to add time, and it's no fun to work hard and not get better. Um, but I would say like don't let like uh, a time ad like make you dislike swimming. Like that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned is adding is definitely a part of our sport. Like you either drop or you add. Like it's a 50-50 shot. Like there's two options. And so I think I've gotten content with adding. I know there's some races where I'm going to add and some where I'm going to drop. And just realizing that it's part of our sport, and you go through peaks and valleys, and um, like is you put your head down and like grind through the valleys, and you'll get to enjoy when you go through those spurts of where you're just dropping every single race at a meet.
Great. So Carson, that ends all the questions that were sent to me, but I'm guessing that maybe someone on the video conference might have a question. So at this time, if you have a question, go ahead and just unmute yourself and ask the question, okay?
Or if you want clarification on anything I said, I was kind of jumbled on a lot of those answers. So if I didn't say something clearly, or you wanted a different answer than what I gave, um, I'm in no rush to go anywhere.
How do
I
you
will
deal
ask.
with
Oh,
like
go ahead.
how do you deal with being in your head during practice? Like not necessarily meets, but like in practice when you're not like giving 100%.
What was your name?
Paige.
Hi, Paige. I think that's actually the case most of the time for me rather than meets. I think I've gotten better at not being in my head at meets, just really working on that for myself. I'd say I'm more similar to that, where I get in my head during practice and I just like come to practice some days and I'm not feeling it. And Ken will agree to this. Like there's just some days where my attitude's just horrible. Um, and you end up having horrible practices when that's the case. And so I would say like, and I'm assuming you mean like in the middle of a set on like a day where you just don't feel good. Those are the times I think where like that's when I try to enjoy my friends the most. And I know it sounds unfocused or um like I just like disregard the set, but I think when I'm struggling during practice, just knowing that my teammates are there also and we're all gonna struggle through it together, um, really helps me. And also just remembering like because I tend to get really nervous before sets just because I care so much about how I do. And that's typically where my negative attitude comes from is me worrying about not doing well or not living up to my expectations or Ken's expectations or my teammates. And so just remembering that this is practice. Um, like obviously practice is important and you have to have good practices to have good meets, but not every single practice has to be a knock it out of the park practice. I think that's important to know. Like there are times throughout the season where you're going to kill every single practice throughout the week, and there are times throughout the season where you're just not going to have it those weeks. Um, and just remembering during those practices where like you're supposed to go 500 pace and you're sprinting just to hit that pace. Like I know that feeling, and the fact that you're sprinting to hit that pace is making you better, and it's going to make those times where like you're just knocking it out of the park every practice so much easier and so much more enjoyable. Um, but I would say just remember in your head, like when you get frustrated during a practice or during a set, like you got to remember, I'm doing this so I can swim faster in the meet. Like I'm not doing this so I can go best times in practice.
Thank you.
No problem.
So Carson, your college recruiting experience is a little bit different than what most people will go through. Do you want to explain, go through that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I think so I think yeah, mine was definitely a bit different. I committed when I was a sophomore in high school. Um which I don't even think I think the NCAA pretty much made that impossible now with all the new rules. Um like you can't even really talk to a coach before your junior year. Um but I'd say like me just watching my teammates and um, me trying to recruit other swimmers to come swim at Texas. I think the most important thing for me when I was going through the recruiting process is don't be afraid to reach out to a coach. Like just because they're not reaching out to you doesn't mean you're not a good fit for their program or they don't want you. Um, like a college coach, like if you think about it, has all the swimmers in the whole country to recruit from, and sometimes a swimmer is just hard to find, and like they don't have the connections to contact that swimmer. Um, and so if you truly want to go to that school, or you truly think you're a good fit for that school or that coach, like do not hesitate to reach out to them. Like don't let that opportunity slip because you're waiting for them to come to you. Um, and then once you get past that and you go on a visit, to any of the schools you go visit or you look at, or coaches you talk to, I would say before your visit or before you talk to the coach, um, know what you want out of a college coach before you talk to them. Like know in your head, okay, I want this coach to be just like Todd, or I want this coach to be just like Ken or be similar to Ken or have similar sets or run his programs like a similar way, or I want something totally different. Like I want nothing like the Rays. Um, know that in your head and ask the questions that are gonna give you that answer. Um, and that's for coaches. And I would say the thing that I truly looked at the most for me, which was ultimately the reason why I chose Texas, was like pick the team. like, don't pick the team you're going to be the fastest. Don't pick the team that you're going to be like the hot shot when you like go on the team. Like, pick the team that you see like, okay, like after swimming's over, these guys are going to be my best friends. Like, these, I will love going to practice every day because I get to be with these kids. Because I think that's why all of us love swimming, is that like, no one loves swimming because they go to practice every day and just get hammered, like hammered by the coach. Like, that's no fun for any of us. And I think the reason why we love swimming is because we love the social aspect and we love our teammates. And so I'd say if you're looking into swimming in college and that's something you want, and you do take visits and you get to know the team and you get that opportunity, I would say make sure you see yourself fitting in with the team, and ask the hard questions to the guys on the team. So like people you trust, people you get to know, like ask them what it's like, ask them what the dynamics like, and if that sounds like you would fit in, like, then that's a place you should consider.
Anybody else have any questions? Now's the time to ask.
What was that?
Hey, great job today with this.
Oh.
The questions were awesome. Yeah, very, very good. And hopefully we can do some of these in the future with some other people as well. But yeah, are there any other questions? Carson, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, other than just like stay excited about swimming. Hi Rory. Just stay excited about swimming. Like, I think we're gonna be back hopefully sooner than you think. And when we get back, it's gonna be really easy not to take it for granted. And just like stay strong. And if you need to talk to anyone, like talk to your teammates or reach out to me or reach out to Todd or Ken. Because we all understand, like, if this can be hard, like this time is definitely a hard time for all of us. Like, we're definitely all out of our element. So I mean, don't be afraid to reach out and just like want to talk to someone about it. Like, it's not being weird, or that's not like being weak. Like, being able to reach out and talk to someone about what's going on in the world and like how it's affecting your life is not a bad thing. And I definitely recommend it if you're feeling like just weird about the whole situation. I know it's not really about swimming, but that's something that's really helped me throughout this time, is not being afraid to reach out and just talk to someone about it.
Great job. Yeah, that sounds good. It's good to see everyone. And yeah, Todd, do you want to wrap up?
No, I just want to thank Carson for spending his Monday evening with us. And to those of you who sent in those questions, they were great questions. And hopefully we'll all see each other around the pool deck here soon. Thank you very much, Carson.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.